We all are familiar with Newton's first law. It is also called the law of inertia. It states that objects at rest tend to stay at rest unless acted upon by an outside force, and objects in motion tend to stay in motion until something stops them. This law is not just limited to physics. It also translates perfectly to the real world and its people. We see all the time that successful people tend to get more successful, the rich tend to get richer, the happy people get happier, and similarly the poor get poorer. Do you know that a rocket ship uses more fuel during the first few minutes of its flight than the rest of the trip? This means that more energy is required in getting the rocket off the ground and breaking it free from the pull of gravity than to move it in the orbit. Similarly, when you start a car's engine, you need a burst of energy to overcome the initial resistance and get the engine running. But once the engine is running, it requires less energy to keep it running smoothly. Any business you start, any skill you learn, any new change you adopt is the same way. Everything starts with one small step, and this first step is always the hardest. Your progress is slow, but once you have that new behavior or habit locked down, once you get the momentum in your favor, that is when everything changes. And it does take a lot of time and energy to build momentum, but with it, success skyrockets. Your old ways and conditioning are just like the inertia of the pull of gravity or the frictional force. You will need a lot of energy to break free from it and get your enterprise underway. But once you get the momentum, you become unstoppable. Eventually, you will start receiving greater results with less efforts. These are facts and can be verified by real-life examples. Apple's iPod was not an overnight success. The iPod was released in 2001 and they went from 30% revenue growth the previous year to -33%. The following year also saw a negative revenue growth at -2%, but there was a shift to positive 18% in 2003. Growth came again in 2004 up to 33%. In 2005 they caught momentum and got to 68% revenue growth. The consistency of their efforts paid off and they put their product in the pockets of millions of people. Google was a small, struggling search engine for a long time. Now it holds more than 90% of the market. All the big companies had very small beginnings. All of them struggled in their initial stages, but they kept going, and look at them now. Everyone faces this same resistance in their life when it comes to becoming better or starting a business or doing anything meaningful. The difference between the successful and unsuccessful is just that the successful ones understand this and do what they are supposed to do in spite of the difficulty and discomfort, while the unsuccessful ones quit. You have to decide which side you want to be on. And one last thing, going back to Newton's first law, objects at rest tend to stay at rest. So the more time you spend sitting on your couch and not taking action, the harder it will be for you to get moving. So start right now. Hit that subscribe button for more. Do not forget to follow us on Instagram.